My sister called me useless, in front of everyone. I hugged her, said nothing, and transferred her rent to someone else. Next month she called screaming because it was at my mother's birthday dinner that everything quietly snapped inside me. The house smelled like rosemary chicken and overdone candles, the kind you light for ambience, and then forget to blow out. The whole family was there, cousins swapping stories, my uncle retelling that same fishing trip like it just happened, and my sister, Caroline, holding court like she always did. You'd think she was auditioning for an audience that wasn't us. Dramatic hand gestures, polished nails tapping on her wine glass as she laughed at her own joke before finishing it. Caroline has always been loud. Not just in volume, but in presence. When we were kids, she could fall and skin her knee and somehow make the entire block pause. I was the opposite, silent, dependable. The one who walked home when Dad forgot to pick us up. The one who fixed the Wi-Fi. The one who quietly paid her rent. 6 months. That's how long I'd been doing it. Quietly. An anonymous payment to her landlord through a third party, my friend Jeff, who owed me a favor and didn't ask questions. She never knew it was me. I didn't want credit. I just wanted her and my niece, Maddie, to have a roof. That felt like enough. But that night, that night, something shifted. It started with her retelling some story about pulling herself up, and how she does it all on her own. People nodded. Even Mom clapped. Then Caroline looked right at me. Smirked. Honestly, it must be nice, she said, her voice syrupy and sharp. To just drift through life. Never responsible for anyone. Never really doing anything. Some people are just useless. I blinked. My fork paused midair. The room went still. Someone laughed, thinking it was a joke. It wasn't. And for a moment, all I could hear was the clinking of cutlery. Everyone waiting to see how I'd react. But I didn't raise my voice. I didn't crack. I stood up, walked over to her, and hugged her. She froze, maybe expecting me to lash out. But I just smiled, let my hands rest gently on her back for a second too long, and said nothing. And when I sat down, I kept eating. Same calm face. Same quiet brother. But inside? Something broke. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling fan, its rhythm slicing through the silence. All I could hear was that word. Useless. That was the moment I made the decision. Not out of anger. Not even revenge. Just clarity. I realized I was done carrying people who wouldn't even acknowledge the weight I bore. So, the next morning, I picked up the phone. The morning after the dinner, the sun was streaming through the blinds like nothing had changed. But something had. I brewed my coffee slower than usual, sat on the edge of the couch, and scrolled through my phone until I found Jeff's number. Jeff and I went to college together. Solid guy. Good heart. He fell on hard times last year after his company downsized, and he'd been crashing on couches since. A couple months back, I helped him out with some freelance gigs and promised to keep an ear open for a place he could afford. That's when the idea first seeded in my head. But I never expected I'd need it for this. I called him. He picked up on the second ring. Tom? He said, surprised. Everything good? Yeah. I lied. Actually, you remember that apartment I told you about in Midvale? The one I said I was covering anonymously? Your sister's place? I didn't correct him. It's available next month. You still need a spot? There was a pause. Man, are you serious? As serious as I've ever been. You'll just need to take over the lease. I'll cover first month's rent. After that, it's all you. He didn't ask questions. Jeff never did. I'll take it. I hung up and emailed Caroline's landlord. Told him the arrangement was ending, effective immediately. That the lease would be signed over to a new tenant. I made it sound routine. Professional. Clean. He didn't care, of course. Money's money. After that, I deleted the recurring calendar reminder for her rent payment. The one I'd hidden under the name. Water bill, autopay. That was the part that made me pause the longest. Not because I doubted the decision, but because it hit me how many quiet sacrifices I had disguised as chores. She never said thank you. She never knew. And that had always been okay, until she called me useless. That night, my phone buzzed. A photo from Caroline. Maddie in a new school outfit, grinning with missing front teeth. The caption read, "First day ready, smiley face. Thank you, universe." I stared at it for a long time. Not angry. Not bitter. Just done. It happened 29 days later. I remember the exact number because I had marked it, quietly, on my calendar. Not out of spite, but out of curiosity. I wanted to see just how long it would take for everything to unravel. I didn't wish for chaos. I just stopped holding back the tide. It was a Saturday morning when she called. 7:42 a.m. The kind of time you don't call unless it's an emergency or you're about to make it one. I let it ring the first time. Then again. Then again. By the fourth time, I picked up. I didn't say anything, just let the line open, let her voice come to me. "Tom! What the hell is going on?" Her voice wasn't even angry at first, it was panicked. A breathless kind of panic that tumbles out fast and messy. "I got this notice on my door," she continued. "Something about vacating the property? What is this? Rent's paid. It's been paid every month, right?" I leaned back into the couch, staring at the ceiling. My voice came out quiet. "No. It hasn't." There was a pause. A real one. The kind that splits time. "What? You haven't paid rent this month, Caroline," I said. "That's what happens when someone stops paying it for you." She sucked in a breath so sharp I could hear it over the line. "What do you mean? What do you mean? I ended the arrangement. I stopped covering it. You were the one paying it?" Her voice cracked at the edges. "Since when?" 6 months. The line went silent again. Just her breathing, shallow, uneven. Why? Why would you do that without telling me? Why now?" Now she sounded wounded. Betrayed. The irony wasn't lost on me. "Because," I said slowly, "the man you called useless at dinner is the same one who made sure your daughter had a home. And that same man, he finally realized that no one should pay rent for someone who thinks so little of him." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't snap. I just said the words, let them land. "You didn't even know," I added. "That's how little you thought of me. It never crossed your mind." She stammered. I didn't mean it like that. It was a joke. I was trying to be funny. You know how family teases." I cut her off. "No. That wasn't a joke. That was you showing everyone who you really think I am. And that's fine. But useless men don't keep roofs over your head." There was a pause. I could hear her swallow, as if realizing something in real time. Then came the tears. The sputtered apologies. The cracked voice. "Tom, I didn't mean it. Please. I have Maddie to think about. Where are we supposed to go?" I closed my eyes. Her daughter. My niece. The only reason I had kept going as long as I had. "You should have thought about that before you spent the last 6 months pretending you were doing it all alone. Before you erased me with one word." I ended the call before she could say anything else. The silence after I hung up was almost deafening. You'd think there would be satisfaction, some kind of release, but instead, there was just this strange emptiness. Like when you finally drop a heavy bag you've carried too long and realize your arms don't know what to do without it. I sat there, phone still in hand, staring at the lock screen. I half expected her to call back immediately, screaming or sobbing or bargaining. But she didn't. Not yet. Instead, the text started. First. "Please, Tom. Can we talk? I didn't mean any of it." Then. "You can't do this to Maddie. She doesn't deserve this." And finally, in all caps, the one that made me set my phone down and walk away. "You are ruining our lives." I didn't respond. That evening, Mom called. Her tone was clipped formal, like she was rehearsing for something. "Tom, Caroline told me what happened." I waited. "She's shaken." She made a mistake, sure, but don't you think this is going a little too far? I laughed. Not loud, just that bitter, airless kind. You mean holding her accountable? You could have talked to her first, she said. Explained. Given her a chance. I felt my jaw clench. Like the chance she gave me at dinner? When she stood in front of everyone and humiliated me just to feel taller? That's not what she meant. No, I said. It's what she said. And now she's facing the cost of those words. Mom sighed. You've always been the calm one. The reliable one. I just didn't expect this from you. And there it was, the line that always came when someone in the family wanted me to absorb their discomfort. I know, I said. That's the problem. None of you ever expected anything from me. But you all expected everything of me. She was quiet for a long time. Then, is this really what you want? No. But it's what I need. I hung up. That night, I slept better than I had in months. The keys changed hands on a rainy Tuesday. Jeff met me outside the building just before noon, holding a cardboard box with all the essentials: kitchenware, clothes, a foldable chair, and an old lamp I remembered from our college days. He looked like someone who hadn't had a place to truly settle in a long time. But when he turned and smiled, it wasn't sheepish or uncertain, it was hopeful. Feels weird, he said, glancing up at the building. After bouncing around for a year, this kind of feels like winning the lottery. I handed him the keys. It's not luck, man. You earned this. Just treat the place like a new start. He nodded, understanding more than I said out loud. We stood there in the drizzle, saying nothing for a minute. I could feel the shift happening. The place that used to be a lifeline for someone who took it for granted was about to become a second chance for someone who actually needed it. As we walked up, we passed the unit that had once been Caroline's. It was quiet now. The landlord had handled the lease transfer directly. Caroline had packed her things a week earlier, hastily, according to the superintendent who saw her. Said she looked stunned. Like someone still waiting to be rescued at the last second. But no one came. She'd ended up moving into a friend's guest room across town. I knew because Maddie's daycare address had changed. I hadn't asked? I just noticed. Jeff let out a low whistle when we stepped into the apartment. This place is bigger than I thought. I smiled. You'd be surprised what people waste when they think they're owed it. He didn't ask for context. That's what I've always liked about Jeff. He knows when to stay silent, and when to show up. As I stood there watching him start to unpack, I realized something. This was the first time in years I'd done something for someone that didn't leave me feeling drained. It felt good. Not out of revenge. Out of realignment. I wasn't fixing anyone's mess. I was choosing who to lift. And this time, it wasn't someone who'd use my silence as a cushion to stand on. 3 days after Jeff moved in, I got the voicemail. It was 2:14 a.m. when it came through. I didn't see it until morning, still half asleep, scrolling through notifications out of habit. Caroline's name blinked on my screen, the tiny blue dot hovering beside her message like it was waiting for permission to ruin my day. I didn't listen right away. I made coffee first. Took a long shower. Sat at the kitchen table with the kind of deliberate calm you practice when you know the storm's already passed and all that's left is cleanup. Then I hit play. Her voice came in low and raw. No makeup on it this time. No audience. Tom, I don't know how to start this. I've tried calling, texting, I don't know what to say to make this better. There was a pause. I could hear her sniff. You were paying my rent. And I never even asked who. I just assumed it was luck or charity or some program I forgot I applied for. But it was you. Of course it was you. Another pause. Then softer. I called you useless. In front of everyone. And you hugged me. You didn't even fight back. You just hugged me. That part sat there for a while. She was crying now, and trying to hide it. I don't even know why I said it. Maybe I was mad at myself. Maybe I hated feeling like I was always falling and you just stood there, always standing. It made me feel small. And I wanted you to feel small, too. She exhaled hard into the mic. It was ugly. Honest. Maddie keeps asking why we left the old place. She misses the window with the purple curtains. I told her we're just on an adventure. I didn't tell her that I broke something I can't fix. Silence. A long one. Then, quietly. You didn't deserve that, Tom. You never did. And I'm sorry. Not just for that night. For everything. I sat there for a while after it ended. The voicemail cut off at the 1-minute mark, like it ran out of room before she ran out of regret. But I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt, still, like I'd finally stopped trying to earn a love that came with conditions. Like I could finally stop waiting for the applause that would never come. I didn't call her back. Not right away. I let the voicemail sit there, unopened again, as if that would buy me more time to decide what kind of brother I still wanted to be, if any. It wasn't that I didn't believe her. I did, in a way. Her voice cracked in the places that couldn't be faked. But apology without change? That's just nostalgia for consequences we wish hadn't shown up. 3 days later, I got the text. Can we talk? In person? I stared at it for a while. Then I replied. Sunday. 11 a.m., park bench by the library. Bring Maddie. She was already there when I arrived. Maddie was feeding pigeons pieces of her muffin. Caroline stood off to the side, arms folded like she was afraid she'd melt if she tried too hard to look relaxed. Hey, she said. I nodded. Hey. We didn't hug. She didn't try. I listened to your voicemail, I said, sitting on the bench, watching Maddie giggle as a pigeon snatched a crumb from her shoe. It was honest. I appreciate that. Caroline sat down beside me, a little too carefully. Like she thought the bench might disappear beneath her. I was awful to you, she said. I don't even have a good excuse. You didn't deserve what I said. Or how I treated you. No, I said. I didn't. She flinched a little. But she didn't argue. I'm trying to be better, she said. I've started looking for a part-time job. I'm budgeting. I applied for assistance. I'm not asking you to fix anything, I swear. I just... She paused. I don't want this to be the last version of me you remember. That part caught me. Because for the first time, she wasn't asking for a favor. She was asking for dignity. I let the silence breathe between us for a while. Then I said, I'm not angry anymore, Caroline. But I'm different now. You don't get the old version of me back. She nodded, slowly. I know. There's no more quiet help. No more invisible sacrifices. If you need something, you ask? Like an adult. And if I say no, you say thank you anyway. Deal, she said. Her voice wobbled. Maddie came running up with sticky hands and half a muffin. She beamed at me and held it out like an offering. For you, she said. I took it and smiled. Thanks, kiddo. Caroline watched us, blinking fast. I didn't say anything else. That was the new line. Clear. Firm. Still family, but only if it meant respect came with it. It was almost funny, how after weeks of silence, everyone suddenly remembered I existed. That Monday, I got a call from Dad. Now, to be clear, he's not my biological father. He's my stepfather, married my mom when I was 12. But he's been around long enough that the distinction just feels like punctuation. He's a man who sees the world in ledger sheets, debits, credits, and emotional transactions. He never called me unless he needed something or thought I had forgotten my place. Tom, he said, like he was reading it off a form. Your sisters told us what happened. This thing with the apartment. I kept my tone even. Which part exactly? She said you blindsided her. Left her and the kid out in the cold. I took a breath, steady and slow. I didn't leave her anywhere. I stopped paying someone else's rent. That's not abandonment. That's boundaries. There was a pause. I could practically hear him trying to reframe the situation to make me the villain. You know, family's supposed to help each other, he said eventually. It's what we do. No, I replied. It's what I've done. For years. Silently. While she collected the credit and I carried the cost. You didn't have to humiliate her. I didn't. She did that herself. He got quiet, then sighed like he just spent years being the martyr in a movie only he watched. Son, he said, dragging that word out like he still expected it to mean something. I just hope this isn't how you're gonna handle things from now on. Cold. Distant. Punitive. I laughed, not out loud. Just one of those exhaled smirks that feels more like release than amusement. I'm not being punitive. I'm being fair. She gambled with our relationship and lost. I'm not offering interest-free loans on trust anymore. He shifted tactics. You think you're better than us now? No, I said. Just better than I used to be. Click. He hung up first. I sat there with the phone in my hand, not angry, just clear. They were used to me folding. To me absorbing everyone's mess and translating it into silence. But that was over now. The only version of me they had access to was the one that didn't apologize for standing up straighter. It came in the mail. A plain envelope, no return address, just my name scrawled in that rushed, familiar handwriting. The kind of handwriting you only see on sticky notes, and old birthday cards signed in the car 5 minutes before arriving. I almost didn't open it. But something about the fact that she didn't text, didn't email, didn't try to spin it through a call, that made me pause. Inside was a single sheet of lined notebook paper. Torn at the edge like she'd ripped it out of a spiral in a moment that couldn't wait. Tom, I don't know if you'll read this. But if you do, I hope you'll let me say what I couldn't say out loud without either crying or sounding like I'm just trying to win you back. You were never useless. That word, it came from a place I don't even fully understand in myself. I think maybe I used it because I felt useless. Because I felt like I was drowning and I hated that you always looked dry. But I realize now, you weren't dry. You were just quiet about being soaked. I spent so much time trying to be seen that I never once looked at the people who were quietly holding me up. I never once asked who was behind the safety net. I just assumed it was fate, or luck, or someone else's job. It was you. It was always you. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even expect a response. I just wanted you to have this on paper, in writing, no edits, no performances. You were my brother when I didn't deserve one. Maddie misses you. She keeps asking when Uncle Tom's house is coming back. I tell her you're busy. But the truth is you're healing. And I don't want to interrupt that. Love. Caroline. I folded the letter carefully. Not out of sentiment, but out of respect. It wasn't an invitation. It wasn't a guilt trip. It was what I had needed all along, not groveling, not repair. Just truth. And that meant more than anything else she could have sent. I didn't write back. Not because I was angry. Not even because I hadn't forgiven her. But because forgiveness doesn't always need a reply. Sometimes, it just needs release. The peace didn't come all at once. It arrived in small, quiet moments. A morning where I didn't check my phone with dread. A day when I walked past the bank without remembering the auto-pay. A silence that wasn't heavy anymore, just still. Caroline started standing on her own. I heard through a friend she picked up 2 jobs, nothing glamorous, but honest. Maddie's doing well. The purple curtains went with them to the new place. I smiled when I heard that. As for me? I stopped defining my worth by how much I could hold for other people. And somewhere in that quiet space I carved out for myself, I found something I never expected. Freedom. Not from them. From the version of me who thought being needed was the same as being loved. And I'll never go back.